Now let's look at each of the 4 individual objects in turn, and this is where your questions for the activity will come from. I've started with the table first since that's actually the workhorse of the whole database. It has 2 views. One is the data sheet view that looks just like an Excel spreadsheet, except it has column headings with names instead of letters, and the design view, which is where you figure out what you want to call your column headings instead of A, B, C, D. So here's a picture of the data sheet view. I showed you what the terms are and what means which thing. Here in figure T3, table 3, is the official data sheet view of a table. And you can see that it looks just like a spreadsheet, as I mentioned. This then is the design view. You can see all of the field names, the column headings, listed in order the other direction, and what data type they are. And then if you go down, there's additional sets of choices when you choose a data type. You can go down to the bottom and have field properties down here that will specify the width of the field and how many decimal points and whether it's required and some of the things that we did in Excel plus many other options. A form, as you recall, is a way to see the data on the screen. A form could look like this, for example. There are 4 views of forms. Each one has a specific purpose, and so it's important when you're working in a database to know which one is which. Now, this is the form view. That's the way it looks when it's done. Here's the layout view. I scrolled a little bit too far. Oh, I scrolled a little bit too far, didn't I? Let's try again. You know I'm not a good mouse driver. There. The layout view, here's a tip. They have orange boxes so you can make simple changes. As opposed to the design view, which also lets you make changes, but you can change everything. It looks like a piece of graph paper. That looks really confusing to you now, but once you know what each thing means, it's not really. It's just a matter of learning how. A report, as you recall, is designed to print on paper, so it will look different. There are also 4 report views. Each one has its own purpose. Here's the normal view of a report as distinguished from the print preview, which is what it would look like if you printed it on paper. Well, you know, they don't look much different, do they? Which is what you expected, except if you're in the print preview, you have to close the print preview ribbon when you're done, or you can't get anywhere. Boy, did I confuse myself a few times when they started that. Another view is the layout view. Again, layout view, tip, orange boxes, simple editing. And as we expected, there's this design view that looks complicated and isn't really, but you can do complex editing. Finally, the 4th object is the query object that lets you extract or retrieve only certain information from the database, so you can get only what you need. There are several views of a query. And one thing I have to let you know for sure is that the Run button you'll see is exactly the same thing as the data sheet view. People try to make it complicated. It isn't. And then there's the data sheet view, so they're really the same thing. And a SQL view or SQL view, that's computer code. I used to teach a class where they had to type all that stuff by hand. Go look sometime and see. You'll be confused, but it's okay. It's not so hard once you know how. And then a design view, which we expect to be a little bit more complex, right? Design view. And so here's the design view. In queries, we do most of the things in the design view. You choose at the top of the page, you choose which fields for which tables and which fields, and then you drag or double click them down to the bottom in the order you will want them to appear when you run the query. So I have first name, last name, balance, balance, you see. This is the design view, and then this is the run view, and again that's just the data sheet view. That's what we said Over here, I said the run view is the same as the datasheet view. But you set it up here in the query design screen. There is a wizard to make it easy, but most of the time we don't use it. It has special purposes. And this, again, is a picture of the part of the design grid. You could put 2 tables or 4 tables or 15 tables in there if they're connected, related to each other. And here are a couple of examples of the bottom of the query design grid, where you select which fields you want, from which table you want, whether you want it to show, whether you want to sort it, and you just click each field in each column and row according to what you want. In the criteria row, you can specify, I only want to know the names of my customers whose first name is Fred. And that's the whole power of the query right there. That's why databases are so vital. The SQL view, I gave you one example here just so you can see what it looks like. Finally, I want you to know the term wildcard because it's so important in all of computers. And a wildcard lets you put in asterisk or star, asterisk, or some other characters, depending on which program and what things you're doing, to substitute for some letters that you don't know. So if I wanted to find all the cities in Michigan that begin with the letter F, I could type F asterisk in the field of cities. Or if all the cities in Michigan that they have the word Grand in them, like Grand Rapids, Grand Ledge, Grand Haven, Grand Blank, you could put GRAND space asterisk. I gave you a couple of little practice exercises down there to try. And I showed you how it looks in the design grid. There's a city that's like, the computer types that part, like GR asterisk, and it would give you Grant City and Grind City. So when you do your little activity now, leave this open, and it has questions, and it will tell you to look up this or look up that, and review the screen for, let's see, what's this one? Figure Q2, query 2. Look up the query 2 field and look and see, I don't know, something. And it asks you a question about it. And that's how you do the activity. No database required.